Hey, 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 party people! Welcome to another edition of Facebook Live. It is Wednesday afternoon, and this morning I hopped on and told some of you a little bit about how I've been spending my past few days, which is not so happy. My grandfather passed away last week, and I've spent the last couple days at the funeral, and wow, does that open up a can of worms in conversation when you're at a wake and you're talking to people. And of course, people are talking about grief and coping mechanisms and sharing happy memories of the departed, as well as ways in which that they've bounced back in times of major loss. And of course, me being the business person that I am, I can't help but to connect the dots sometimes between our real life and business life, because the line is kind of blurry, right? Your personal life and business life, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and especially when you work from home and you're very personal, you have a personal brand, you interact with people, and you're emotionally invested in what it is that you do for work. It is so hard to say, well, I'm gonna clock out at the end of the day, and I'm gonna leave work at work, and I'm gonna pick up and be present at home, because all those things intermingle. So when people were sharing with me some of their coping mechanisms for grief, and hey Jody, thanks for being here, darling. When people were sharing with me some of their coping mechanisms and how they have bounced back, man, like if I thought grief on my own, losing a family member was hard, and I've lost several. As you know, I lost my mom very young, and being at a funeral and losing somebody else close to me brings back all those horrible memories and flashbacks of emotion that I went through at that age. But to hear what some other people have gone through completely blew my mind. And I'm thinking, wow, like if you can get over that, we all need to be a little bit stronger. There was somebody at the wake who shared with me an incredible story. I was literally barely composed myself about how he had lost his teenage son, and his son was 17 years old, the beginning of his senior year of high school, into a car accident. And several years later, lost his other son, the only two boys this man had, to a car accident. And he was talking about it as if it happened 150 years ago. He was so good about having moved past this and moved on and picking himself up and to keep going. And here I am, I'm going, how? Like, you can't even fathom that emotion. You can't even imagine what it's like to be in his shoes. And he basically said a couple of things. He said, well, one, I can grieve, which I always will. There'll always be emotion, and I'll always be letting go, and I'll always miss them, and that's never going to go away. But life must go on, and I need to be strong for the other people in my family, and I need to be strong for me, because I have a whole life to live, and I have things that I need to accomplish, and I can't let this go. So he found things to do to keep him occupied. And I'll tell you, it turns out that he went to a medium and didn't believe in it. This is like a total man's man who's construction worker, farmer, hunter, doesn't believe in any of that stuff, and ended up, getting dragged to this place, and some beautiful stories about how his sons were soulmates, and they are very happy where they are, and their contract was up and they checked out together. So it was a very beautiful, beautiful story, and it gave him closure and made him feel good about letting them go and moving on, and knowing that they're always going to be with him. But his tactics were really great. And me being the business person and always connecting the dots, thought, wow, these techniques and these tactics can pretty much apply to anything. We experience loss when it comes to losing a person. We can have those same exact emotions when we have a major bummer with business. If we have try to do a launch and the launch isn't that successful. What happens? How do you feel after that? You get kind of bummed out, right? A little bit, I don't know, maybe depressed. You start to second guess your credibility, your worth. You wonder what it is that you did wrong. Do people like me? Why don't they want to buy from me? You know, what is happening? And you kind of just want to hole up, right? I mean, tell me that's just me. Where, oh, Lizzie, don't cry. Oh, believe me, I was a complete wreck when he's telling me these things. But it was so beautiful to hear his story, and so inspirational and motivating when he shared how powerful the comeback was. Because we all get in these funks. I know I do. I know there's times where it's easier to just say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to sit on, I'm just going to get a bottle of wine and sit on the couch and ignore the world because that's just easier. I'm going to turn on binge watch the Kardashians and call it a day. When you should be doing something else. You should be motivating yourself. You know that there's other things you should be doing, but it's easier to pout and wallow in your pity party. So after you suffer a bummer, and I'm using bummer very loosely here, in the sense that maybe it's a loss, maybe you've lost a loved one, or maybe it's a financial bummer and you've made a bad investment, or maybe it's a personal bummer in your business where you've tried to do something and it didn't turn out the way that you wanted, and you're taking it really, really hard. How do you bounce back from that? Well, a couple of things. So one simple little tactic, when something like bummery, is that a word? I'm making up words. When something bummery happens to you, you can give yourself a time limit. Put a time limit on your pity party. Instead of trying to fight that negative emotion, instead of trying to pretend that you're strong and you've got it all under control, let it out. Cry on purpose. Give yourself permission to watch Netflix and eat a gallon of ice cream and cry and pout and talk about how the world sucks and how nothing is going your way and everybody hates you and the world's against you. Do it if that's what makes you feel better, but put a time limit on it. If it's a little bummery, maybe that time limit is 5 minutes. If it's a lot bummery, maybe you give yourself a day, maybe more. You know you best, but allow yourself that buffer time. Maybe it's a week. If it's a real serious mourning process, clear your schedule and say, you know what, I'm taking time off just to wallow and absorb and reacclimate myself. And that's okay. But there has to be a deadline to where, all right, at that point, I'm going to pick myself up and move on, right? Then what? So when it's time, you reach that deadline, how do you move on? How do you keep going? How do you bounce back? Make yourself a bucket list, a to-do list. List out a couple of things that you should be doing, you could be doing, that are going to make you feel better. And take one baby step toward doing them. If you're in a major bummery mood and you're like feeling really depressed or you're feeling really down and it's really, really hard to motivate yourself, what I like to do is create that list while I'm on the couch, while I'm in bed with my bathrobe on and I don't want to do anything. And it's not to create the list that I'm promising that I'm going to get up and do it in 5 minutes, but I create that list and go, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do one thing and I'm going to do the easiest thing. And that's enough. That one thing will get you the momentum. It gives you a little bit of satisfaction and self-appreciation. Like, okay, I did this thing. It's a win. It's a little win. And then the next day, tackle the next biggest thing. And if you're feeling really motivated, do 2 things. But baby step into getting your mojo back. And then, meditation is always good. I'm a big advocate, just reflecting in your thoughts, allowing yourself to think, and maybe taking your thoughts on a natural progression of, why me? Why does this happen? All those, the negative spiral of thoughts, right? And then at some point, purposely spin those thoughts to something a little bit more positive and say, well, the silver lining in this is, where I can look at it and be really upset about my grandfather's passing, but the silver lining is that he was ill and I can only believe that he is in a better place. and he buried 2 of his children, and now he's with both of those. So although, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to miss him, the positive side is he's probably pretty all right with it. He's probably happy, and you find those things and you start to find the positive and say, you know what, I want that kind of life. I want the life where you live a full life, and you get to have, he had, 6 children. Everyone had children of their own and grandchildren, and he was blessed to know his great-grandchildren. It's pretty amazing. Where, you could say that, or you could say in business, well, that was, maybe the launch didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but where's the silver lining? I could beat myself up and say all these things are my fault, but did I learn something? Did I make one new client? Did I get one new referral? Did I make a connection that's going to blossom into something? And what does that look like? What are the possibilities there? Well, what happens if we partner and we do this? And just let your mind go to someplace a little bit more positive so that you're allowing yourself to get excited. And another really awesome suggestion, and this came up in our conversation the other day, was really like the easiest thing to do is to just change your state. Get off the couch, take a shower, do your hair and your makeup, even if you're not going anywhere. Just change your state so that you feel better about you and who you are. And it's, you get out of this slumpy, depressed mode. And I'm serious, like you guys could try this right now, right? It is, you could be like this and all this like hunched back, shoulders hunched, slouched down, and it just kind of makes you bummed out. But if you just change your physiology and sit up straight, put your shoulders back, put your chest out, and smile, even if you don't mean the smile at first. But if you do that, it's really hard to stay feeling bummed out. If you take it one step further and laugh. I know it sounds crazy, but like you can literally just start laughing for no reason and do it for 30 seconds. And if you try it, I promise you, it is, you start laughing at yourself. It's almost impossible not to. So it will immediately put you in a good mood. You want to go one step further than that? Have a dance party, do some jumping jacks, do something silly. And that will snap you out of that funk so fast, where when you are in that state and you start laughing at yourself, go back to that to-do list and go, okay, I'm ready to tackle that one baby thing now. I'm ready to send that one email. I'm ready to talk to one client. I'm ready to get on Facebook and say one positive thing to somebody else. I'm ready to practice one little tidbit of appreciation. Whatever that one little thing is that makes you feel accomplished and successful in that moment, that's the moment in which you do it. So those were the things thank you for the hearts, you guys. Those were the things that he shared with me, this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful man who had been through so much, in our conversation. And a few of the other people that I was talking to were sharing some amazing pointers and some of their stories of what they had been through in their life. And it really was blowing my mind to see how many people have suffered tremendous loss and experienced insane amounts of tragedy and adversity. And they pull themselves up and they keep going when the going gets tough. And that's what makes people stronger. That's what makes them the amazing people they are. That's what really makes them interesting, because you could talk to them and they're like so wise, and you just want to sit in Indian style on the floor at their feet and go, literally talk for hours. I just want to listen to you, because everything they speak is from experience and it's true. And it hits home, it hits those heartstrings, and we know it, we feel it, and we're drawn to that because we want to feel that way too. We all want to feel strong and powerful and able to conquer anything that this crazy world throws our way. And if we have the tools in our hands to do it, we have the power to do whatever we want. We can literally take over the world. And that just starts with having the inner belief that we can and the tools to make it happen. So these are just a few of those things. So this is something you can apply to your personal life, your business life. Anytime the world gets you down and you're feeling a little bummery, you can do these things to feel amazing. So that's it, you guys. If this was amazing and you know somebody that might benefit from hearing these words of encouragement, or inspiration, feel free to share this with them. You never know what people need to hear and when they need to hear it, but sometimes it's just those little things that can make the biggest difference. So thank you so much for spending time with me today. I will see you guys next time.